was at fault when the Soviet submarine Petropavlovsk was struck by the U.S. carrier Kitty Hawk in 1984? How bad was the damage to both parties? Ted Pettit. I was there. It was night in heavy seas. We were in formation near the Soviet coastline, still in international waters, but in proximity of a Soviet base. This garnered a lot of attention from them, and it was not unusual for the Soviet Navy to try and disrupt our operations by playing chicken. The carrier was pitching heavily fore and aft, and was in a sort of rhythm, like a giant seesaw. Suddenly, on a downward pitch, the rhythm was interrupted and the ship stayed bow down for a moment, then shuddered as she started to pitch aft, and slowly the bow came back up. We stayed level for a moment, the ship shuddered a bit more, and then we were back to the steady seesaw rhythm like before. The shudders were not strong or abrupt but were noticeable, and on a ship that size, that's important. I served on a sub-tender before and felt that kind of shuddering many times as barges, subs, and other ships came into contact with our fenders when they came alongside. Never felt that on the carrier. Flight ops caused shudders, but they were different and came from a different place, and were easily identified. We looked at each other with a "what the F***CK was that?" and immediately GQ was called. The co came on the 1MC and asked for anyone that had seen anything to make their way to the bridge to tell about it, and for everyone to stay off the weather decks. The next morning, there she was off the starboard side, dead in the water and smoking, with her crew, or some of them, standing on the hull. She was pretty beat up. Our hellos were in the air, and we offered assistance but were refused. We stuck around until it was reported that the Soviets had deployed to come to the sub's aid, and we beat feet. We left some of the battle group behind to keep an eye on them, and were told it took the Soviets 2 weeks to get a tug out there to haul her back into port. It was clear that the Soviet Navy was actually running on fumes at that point. We also heard that she actually rolled over as we passed over her, and there was loss of life. That was saddening. We always feel a sense kinship with other sailors regardless of their nationality. What happened? The sub had been trying to stay under us because they can stay hidden that way. Remember, carriers don't have sonar. It would be useless as the carrier makes too much noise. That's why there are escorts and helos to do the listening for them. I did mention there were heavy seas, not unusual for the area, but it was also storming, so no helos in the air, and the escorts were a safe distance from us. The sub actually lost track of US and decided to pop up to the surface, and was crossing our bow when she did, and wham, we collided. Clearly the Soviet commander's fault. As I said before, major damage to the sub. For us, easily repaired damage to the bow and minor damage to the starboard side under the water line. We actually picked pieces of the sub's screw, propeller, out of the bow and mounted them on a plaque to commemorate the occasion. There was even a profile of a sub painted on the island, like the way fighter pilots put kill trophies on their planes. Can't let them have all the fun. But I heard that it was removed at some point. 389.8K views. View 4,243 upvotes.